People feel that I'm mad when I say I loved minus 34 degrees in Severodvinsk. Went to a B school, which is India's top business school called Indian School of Business. There, I was 42 years old, and the youngest guy in the same class was 22 years old. So, for me, there is no reason why somebody in Russia, somewhere in some corner of Russia, who's got a thinking head and is ambitious, would not want to work for Avito. Automation that we do here for resolving your issues is better than what Amazon does. I'm proud to say this. Like, nobody comes into work saying, I want to mess with some customer today. If tomorrow did not exist, what would you do today? Just do it.
Шьям, салют. Очень приятно видеть тебя здесь. У меня есть серия вопросов, которые касаются твоего времени в России, потому что тот бэкграунд, о котором я прочитал, о котором говорили твои коллеги, это просто восхитительно. Скажи, пожалуйста, как вообще ты оказался в России, тем более в таких городах, как Северодвинск, Архангельск? Это очень нетипичный выбор для иностранца, который приезжает в Россию.
I first went to St. Petersburg, Kronstadt, in 2005, then went to Severodvinsk for a few months, went back to India. After a year, I came back to Russia for 2 years with my family, lived in Severodvinsk, like a local.
Слушай, как отнеслись к этому твои дети, твоя жена, твоя семья, что, получается, ты в один день приходишь такой: дорогие мои, мы едем в Россию, и мы будем жить в ее северной части. Вам, наверное, понравится. Как они на это отреагировали?
They were looking forward to it because it's a trip out of India. So they had not lived outside India, and we have a lot of Navy interactions with Russia. So we know a lot of people who have been to Russia, lived here. They tell us stories about what was there in Russia. So we were really looking forward to it. And people feel that I'm mad when I say I loved minus 34 degrees in Severodvinsk.
Это похоже на то.
Да, я люблю.
Вау, это действительно довольно нетипично. А какое у тебя было впечатление до того, как ты приехал в Россию? То есть, как ты его воспринимал?
Since I'd worked in Russia, do you mean in
Совсем
Avito?
до, да, когда ты находился в Индии, вот до того, как отправиться.
The first time?
Yes, the first time.
I have read about Soviet Union. We used to read Soviet comics in India. Everybody knows about Russia. I mean, Russia is super familiar in India. And I'm not talking about Ostrov Goa. I'm talking about Indians know a lot about Russians. And we also know that Rishi Kapoor and Mithun Chakravarti are more famous probably in Russia than in India. So it's a place we all love to visit. So when I came here with family, that was like beautiful. So there was no element of, oh my God, I'm going to Russia.
Какого-то опасения.
Absolutely not. Because probably for the West, maybe there's some bit of unknown element of Russia. But for Indians, it's like any day.
Когда ты впервые начал изучать русский язык, я знаю, что ты его изучаешь, какое конкретное слово произвело на тебя больше впечатления? Я спрашиваю это потому, что, например, очень часто в социальных сетях, в российских социальных сетях постят какие-нибудь слова из шведского языка или из японского языка, которые означают очень большие сложные вещи, для которых мы используем много слов. Сталкивался ли ты с чем-то таким в русском языке, что такое круто, у нас в индийском этого нет?
There are a lot of words which are very similar to each other, which I always get mixed up with. So, for example, предложение, приглашение. Right? I've used these pomada and pagoda. I've used this interchangeably and got really embarrassed at times. Thankfully, family wasn't there at that time. But there are some of these words which really stick out for me in terms of, till today, I haven't really got used to saying здесь там and сюда туда. Always mixed up. I think Russians, when they speak in English, have the same confusion of when to use come and when to say go. And for me, what confuses me is if I'm going somewhere or coming from somewhere, walking, in a car, on an aircraft, are all different words. So, idu, yedu, yekhat, letet. These are perennial confusions for me.
По справедливости ради скажу, что я и сам могу иногда путать слова на русском языке, хотя это мой родной язык. Но про погоду и помаду, это действительно лучший пример, с которым я никогда не сталкивался.
Very interesting always when I hear people saying that we met a bear in Kamchatka. Like, hello bear. Right? We met the new year in Dubai.
Да.
I understand that the Russian term is the same, but it's to somebody who speaks English, suddenly when you hear, I met a bear, like, oh wow.
Вау, ты познакомился с медведем.
Did you take a card? But to your previous point, я не изучал русский язык. This is all learned with Russian friends. Upside down.
Понимаемо. Шьям, расскажи, пожалуйста, о своем опыте до Авито, потому что, когда я прочитал твое короткое био, честно говоря, я был поражен тому, насколько нестандартными и нелинейными были твои переходы, но при этом, кажется, тебе удалось очень успешно совместить какие-то очень развитые навыки совершенно из разных сфер и при этом добиться успеха.
Went to a B school, which is India's top business school called Indian School of Business. There, I was 42 years old, and the youngest guy in the same class was 22 years old. And we were both writing the same exams, and I was like really trying to keep up with that class. There were 620 people, and I was the oldest in the class. And I got elected the class president, which meant that I had to behave with all of these 24, 25-year-old people like I was their age. That taught me a lot about talking similarly with those people. It also taught me how the younger generation of today think, get motivated, work, deliver, etc. So after that, when I joined Amazon, it was quite easy for me because my team was older than my classmates. So it was easier for me to manage. And in B school, I had a graduate student board which was responsible for education, sports, etc., etc. And I didn't have any authority. I didn't write their bonuses at the end of the year, right? So they could tell me, sorry, I have got something else to do, but you still had to get stuff done for 600 students, including getting them placed. So with that background, when I went to Amazon, I found it so easy to manage because I had some level of authority on the team. So there were certain times when I had to get into that. But I think the B school and my first year in Amazon taught me a lot. Then I moved with Amazon to Dubai. I worked across UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt. Each of these countries has a different culture.
Absolutely.
So when I went to those places, some places I could just put my hand on your back and say, hey, come on, let's do this. But in certain places, if you do that without knowing the person adequately well at work, they would look at you like, who are you, my father? So it taught me a lot pretty late in life about different cultures. So all of this put together, and I don't have an ego. So tomorrow, if I understand that Anton is outstanding at something, I'll come sit next to you. I will make you my God and I will learn from you. Right? So when I do this with different people in different organizations, I accumulate a lot of these skills, which then subsequently help me do something better because I've learned a little bit of stuff from different places. And that's similar for the Russian language. I had no need to learn Russian, but I learned it because it got me a lot of experiences of Russia and the Russian way of life and the culture, which I would not get if I went to meet your grandparents and I only spoke English.
Oh.
And if I understand Russian, it gives me a completely different flavor of the Russian way of life. So I think it is translatable, the same kind of just keep learning, absorbing like a sponge and use it where needed. So I think that helps.
Вау, это невероятная степень гибкости. Скажи, ты ее приобрел, поскольку тебе это потребовалось, как бы ее приобрести, чтобы адаптироваться?
Whether they succeed or do not succeed completely depends on how open are you to adapting. The organization won't adapt to me. Right? I made a choice to join Avito. I need to behave like Avito people. So the same for Amazon. So there was a lot of adaptation needed, but I had good mentors. I had good colleagues in both Amazon and Avito. I'm very, very thankful because one of the things I was afraid is I heard a lot about people in the corporate, they'll kill you and they'll sell you and, cutthroat competition. I'm yet to see this. Honestly, when I tell this back to my colleagues in India, I tell them, I have not seen cutthroat competition. They're like, no, you're trying to be diplomatic. I actually have not seen cutthroat competition, neither in Amazon nor in Avito. And people don't believe me when I say this. So adaptation is one side. I think I had an amazing set of people to work with, both above on along with me and as part of my teams in all through the 6 years that I've worked outside.
Вау, ну это большое везение, должен признать, потому что действительно, наверное, по моему мнению, в широкой массе вот эти так называемые cutthroat competition, ну да, действительно имеет место быть.
Welcome to Avito.
Это довольно приятное противопоставление лозунгов. А что подтолкнуло тебя пойти в бизнес-школу?
If I was joining somewhere pretty late in life, I wanted to be successful. I didn't want to move out into the corporate world, join an Amazon or an Avito and be like, he's just another guy, put him on the side and let's survive, right? I wanted to be successful. So I understood a lot of operations. So the paradigms are different based on which you make the decision. So while I understood operations, I knew that was not enough to succeed outside. Second is, I had no idea about finance. Other than salary comes on one day, gets spent by the last day of the month, I didn't know anything else. So I wanted to be able to sit in a group of smart people like you guys. And when you say corporate finance, when you say marketing, when you say consumer behavior, I wanted to know what they are and not pretend to know. So I realized that spending half of the money on my own education at pretty late in life was a good thing to do. But thankfully, I attended every class. I didn't miss a single assignment. Interacted with almost all the people thanks to being the class president. So that gave me a lot of off-campus learning as well as books learning. So today, when I talk to Sergey Pivin, and he tells me about finance, I understand exactly what he's talking. When I talk to the marketing head and that person says that 1, 2, 3 metrics, I understand exactly what they're talking. So it makes it's easier for me to do my job to meet the financial requirements, the marketing requirements, the growth requirements, the product requirements, etc. So that part of the learning has added on to my lifelong learning to come together to give me the skill sets needed.
А как тебе удается сохранять вот это вот как раз lifelong learning? Ну, потому что в какой-то момент ты устаешь или тебе буквально становится лень изучать что-то новое. То есть как поддерживать свою такую природную любознательность?
That's a great question. I don't have a ready-made answer. So I would say it's more of it's an essential part of how you're created. I would say so because for me, I run long distance. So I run with a watch. I time myself today and I time myself tomorrow. And tomorrow when I run, I'm trying to beat today's time. So I'm competing against myself. There's nobody standing there to give me a medal.
В какой-то момент ты должен бежать быстрее скорости света.
Someday. I think I like to learn, like I said, whether it's Russian language, whether it's product management, whether it is B-school things, I like to learn a certain set of things. Politics, not interested, right? Arts, not interested. My wife tries her level best to drag me to museums. I've been to 6 museums in the last 4 days in Moscow, and I'm not going to any more. So that side of my brain doesn't work. But the other side of my brain, science, tech, numbers, people, I like to keep learning a lot, which helps me deal with each person differently. I would deal with Anton separately than I would deal with another person once I know this is what you like and this is what makes you engage better. That is coming from the lifelong learning. I think that helps when you're managing large people organizations. Like I've got about 2,500 people in my organization. Now, to manage an organization like that, where the people managers are different kinds of people, they're like 5 fingers. They're all together but different. You need to deal with each of them differently. So I think this lifelong learning helps in that. So I have a selfish interest also to keep learning, but I honestly love learning.
Ну, это вполне разумно. Давай поговорим об Авито. Смотри, каждый спикер, который оказывался на твоем месте, я задавал ему или ей вопрос о том, как бы он расшифровал Авито. Что это? Если бы это, было неким предметом, некой сущностью. Потому что очевидно, что прямого определения не существует. То есть какое бы определение дал бы ты?
Avito wants to be the way of life for every Russian. This is our goal, right? This is what we want to be in next year, next to next year, sometime. This is our end goal. I think today when I was thinking about this, I think the name itself is kind of exemplifying this. A is Avito. Avito is a way to.
A way to
live, right? You get everything that you want. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you want to sell something, buy new shoes, old shoes. Everything is available. The moment you want to buy something or sell something, you should think Avito. If not on Avito, then you should be able to go to ABC. And when you go on Avito, it should be so simple that you open the app or you open the website. You want to buy a house, right from checking the documents to finishing the transaction, making the payments, getting your documents, everything should happen on that place. So you don't need to step out of this platform. And once you love that kind of an experience, the second time you want to do it or your friends want to do it, what do? Have you tried Avito?
Да, конечно.
That word of mouth gets us more returns than any marketing spends can get us. So I think Avito as a way of life is absolutely the right way to look at it. And all the other strategies are moving towards making every Russian love Avito and use it as the first choice, not because we are marketing it, but because they love Avito and what we are providing. This is our North Star. And whatever we do works backwards from that, including in my domain as a customer service and moderation director.
Это самая необычная и самая интересная интерпретация определения Авито, которую я слышал за последние записи. Это прям очень здорово. Не секрет, что мы записываем эти интервью в рамках амбассадорской программы Авито. Почему ты принял решение в ней участвовать? Что тебя мотивирует?
I did this even when I was in Amazon because these are great organizations. So when I moved to Avito, I saw an organization that probably Amazon was maybe 15 years ago, before it became so bulky and huge. We are 6,500 people and we still work like a startup, right? 90% that's good because we move fast, we do things which we experiment, learn from mistakes, think big, make bold bets, work together, etc. So for me, there is no reason why somebody in Russia, somewhere in some corner of Russia, who's got a thinking head and is ambitious, would not want to work for Avito. So that will only happen if more people know what drives Avito. For me, I'm not even a Russian speaker, right? I moved from Dubai to Moscow, from Amazon to Avito, and I think 15 months down the line, I'm super happy that I made this decision. So if a non-Russian speaking person from Dubai may move here and is so thrilled about the organization and what I'm doing and how it's impacting the Russian society, I want every Russian to understand that this is a fantastic place to work. And I'm not saying this because I'm one of the senior leaders in this company. I'm saying this because I mean it. For me, this is a fantastic place to work. We are doing meaningful work. It pays well. The work culture is amazing. You're making tomorrow's products today and working backwards from customer experience. A lot of people make a lot of products, but working backwards from customer pain points and solving that rather than looking only at the money is something which is really good. I just hope we are able to maintain the same when we are 10,000 people or 20,000 people. That culture and that message I want to spread across not just Russia. When I do this in English and when this gets shared on a social media, people outside Russia who do not speak English, who do not speak Russian, understand what this company is. Thanks to that, my network knows what Avito is. People know this is the largest online classified company in the world, which is beaten Craigslist, which we are now moving into transactions. We've got this kind of products, automation that we do here for resolving your issues is better than what Amazon does. I'm proud to say this. I want people to understand this. Working for Avito and being here part of this culture should be something that they look forward to, which is why when the Avito Impact Group said we are looking for brand ambassadors, they're like, okay, I can't speak Russian, but do you still want a guy? I'm ready.
Шьям, скажи, пожалуйста, а почему ты сосредоточился именно на области потребительского опыта? Окей, customer experience. А почему ты работаешь именно в этом направлении? То есть это же ведь, наверное, было какое-то случайное распределение, когда ты впервые начал работать в e-commerce, или это было осознанное решение?
Customer service happened by chance. The first time I saw a customer service organization was when I joined Amazon in 2017. I have never seen a customer service organization before, nor I didn't know anything about it other than calling somebody for some issue, Never. But when I went there, I realized that in the customer service world, most of the people are homegrown, which means somebody joins as an agent or an operator in Russian word. You become a supervisor, you become a manager, and you grow into that, right? It's like a doctor. You start from learning and you continue growing as a doctor. I'm an engineer. By qualification, for me, numbers and tech is all that is in my head. So when I use that kind of thinking in a customer service world to solve problems, I realized that I could make changes much faster and more meaningfully. So I then started loving this. Then I moved to Dubai, worked in customer service. I am one of the rare people in Amazon operations who has worked in customer service, last mile logistics, and fulfillment center operations. So then when I came here, I was told that you have a product team, which you can do automations with. You have an analyst team, and you have the entire customer service team. Doesn't happen in Amazon. This was too good an offer to refuse. And for me, this company and the senior leadership told me that we work backwards from customer experience, which is what I've heard for 5 years in Amazon. But when it becomes very huge, at times, it's a 1 million people organization. So at times you lose sight of the customer experience. Here, we are still so focused on customer experience. If a lot of customers call us with a particular problem, we bring that up and we solve it. We've solved 67 problems like this of customers last year, for which customers no more need to get in touch with us. We've completely solved it. So the opportunity to make these kind of changes, because when you use Avito, 99% everything works well. But we are a growing company. Things will break unintentionally, right? So in those cases, you need somebody to solve your problem for you. If you call me and I solve your problem, the next time we deal on Avito, you know that if something breaks, I go to their customer service and these guys will fix it for me right there. That can be a differentiator. This is what we are trying to do here. Use customer experience to spin the flywheel of the business growth always and every time.
Wow.
So the opportunity to do that in such an organization was something I just couldn't let go of. So even though I'm not a core customer service person, I'm a techie, this makes me, think and be happy all the time doing what I'm doing.
Вау. Я все же хотел бы сделать шаг назад, и мне жутко интересно, как в повседневной работе тебе приходится балансировать между своим, назовем это, people-oriented началом и авторитарным началом, которое понимает только «сделай это, да, сэр».
You don't need to be an autocratic leader. Even in Amazon, we had the same. In Avito, my teams have the highest engagement scores in all Avito. I'm saying this openly. It's because we work together as a team and we like to be with each other. Our teams, we go out on weekends with families to Priozersk. We do fishing, we do banya, we do shashliks, right? We have that kind of fun. It's not just work. If you empower people, people will do your job. A lot of people don't do it because if you're in my team and and you're doing most of my job, why am I needed? Tomorrow, somebody might fire me. That's not how it works. For me, it works differently. You do more of my job. What do I get? I get 25% free time. What do? I go do my boss's job. When I do my boss's job or when I offer to help a colleague, what happens? You get experience in more things. So when there is a new problem to be solved, they say, do you want to do this? I said, why? That's how you grow, right? So it's not that you get fired if your teammates start doing your job. That's their growth path. And when they do that, that creates a growth path for you. So this simple concept of management, of appealing to, like, nobody comes into work saying, I want to mess with some customer today, right? Everybody comes in saying, I want to do a good job. I want to make my family happy. I want everybody who knows me to be proud of me, blah, blah, blah. And in the process, let me try to do some good for the world. This is what everybody wakes up with and goes to bed with, right? I mean, you don't sleep well if you've messed up somebody at work during the day. So I capitalize on that. Unless they prove me otherwise, I consider that everybody in my team is a superstar. And I trust them with it. I allow them to make mistakes. I tell them to make mistakes. I tell them to come and ask me for help when they're trying to break a wall with their head and it's not happening. I tell them, please come and ask for help. I know in Russia, you feel it that, no, I'm not man enough if I ask for help. But then I have told people, please come and ask me, because that's leadership maturity of knowing when to ask for help and when not to break a wall with your head. Right? So these are simple things, facts of life. I manage my wife and my daughter the same way. So thankfully, that creates some level of balance, and I've never needed to be autocratic or throw things. The rare 1% chance where like there's a discussion going on unending where you need to put your foot down and say, guys, enough. This is what we're doing. But 99% of the time, people figure out their own questions, figure out their own solutions. People come to me saying, oh, this is the problem. Okay, if you were me, what would you do? They will give you a solution. So why? Go do it. That's all. You have the problems, you have the solutions. You just need to connect them. That's it.
Слушай, перед тем, как началась запись, ты сказал, что поддерживаешь свой календарь максимально чистым. То есть некоторые коллеги открывают его и думают, блин, этот парень вообще работает? Но как это удается в тег-компании? Потому что как минимум у тебя есть какие-то рекуррентные встречи, какие-то обзоры, какие-то ревью, и это все заполняет календарь так, что от этого просто никак не сбежать. То есть почему у тебя он чистый?
This is a risk. My boss Amit might be listening to this, right? I might get fired, but I'll still say this. I said maximum I work in a day is 10 hours. In that, on my calendar, any day, there is always 1 hour free. Every single day. Because if I'm only attending meetings back to back, I don't get any time to think, what should I do different? Mm-hmm. I am not paid for attending meetings from 9 o'clock to 6:30. I am paid to see how these meetings will not be required tomorrow. Right? I'm paid to create free space for my team so that they can think, how can I replace this chap tomorrow? I want them to think how they can replace me tomorrow and start telling me what I am not doing right. So that then when you come to me and say, listen, I think you can keep this phone like this instead of like this. This will be more efficient. I say, okay, пожалуйста. So then Anton feels good that my suggestion has been accepted. Mm-hmm. Every time the phone is like this, Anton will come and put it like this. Now I don't need to do this. Right? There is a mechanism that works which makes sure this is happening. When you do this at an incremental level with different parts of your organization, you will see that a lot of things automatically start working. This is not what I said. Jeff Bezos has a saying, said, good intentions don't work, mechanisms do. Which means I tell you that, we should not have traffic jams. We should not have bad parking outside the building. Okay. You also say, yeah, we should not have bad parking. No, что? Tomorrow morning you'll have the same. Right? Are you going to go draw those lines once so that everybody comes and parks neatly and forever? Mm-hmm. That is a mechanism. So when you do this for every defect that you find, for me, when I came into this organization, I said, every customer who calls customer service is a defect. Something is broken somewhere. They shouldn't call us. So similarly, when you keep removing defects, your calendar gets cleaner and cleaner. And there are times, today I was talking to somebody from my team. I said, how's work-life balance going? And she said, let me share my calendar with you. And she showed me her calendar and said, I have blocked these times for myself for doing A, B, C job. And there are no slots where I have 2 meetings next to each other. She's still as effective as she was 1 month back when she had 3 meetings in the same slot. Nobody has complained to me that she's not attending meetings. Right? So this is doable. Simple secret is I treat my calendar and my time like my money. I wouldn't leave 1 million rubles on the table and allow anybody to pick it up and go with it.
Я бы не отказался.
Why would I leave my time like that?
Да, это очень разумно. So,
and for me, the problems will still be there tomorrow. So if I go on a week vacation and come back, all the problems will still remain for me to come back and solve it. When I go home at 6:30, I don't need to carry the problem because it will still wait for me till tomorrow 9 o'clock. But there will be some things somewhere, rare cases where you need to sit till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. But 99.9% is 9 to 6:30. And that works fine. I still have my job. That means it works.
Да, это по-любому работает, учитывая, что да, ты все еще на своем месте. А что насчет того, что делаешь за пределами работы, да, за пределами офиса? Потому что у тебя очень хорошие навыки тайм-менеджмента, которые распространяются и за пределы работы, и тебе удается, вот как ты сказал, бегать, плавать, рыбачить, дубанья, etc.
Да.
Откуда эти навыки? Как это удалось вообще сформировать вот эти все привычки? Это же ведь не только потому, что ты уходишь из офиса до 6:30. Ну, точнее, в 6:30.
See, if I leave office at 6:30, I have time till 10 o'clock till I sleep. So that's 3.5 hours. I get up at 5 in the morning. I come to office at 9. That's 4 hours in the morning. 7.5 hours is more than enough to do what you want, what your wife wants, what your kid wants, and what the world wants out of you, right? Every week, all the time. I do for the there are batches where they're getting trained to leave and some basic skills. I go conduct sessions for those people. I conduct lectures for MBA classes. Fishing. Yesterday morning I was in Fruzninskaya Naberezhnya. 3 days before that.
Ты рыбачил на Фрунзенской набережной?
Да. Ну, ничего не поймал. That's a different issue. I caught a shuka in Astrakhan.
Wow.
Propose steel. Because I couldn't carry it back to Moscow. So
Ну да.
I put it back in the water. I think grow up some other day, somebody else can catch you. So cycling, running, these are my thinking time. So when you run long distance, when you cycle 70, 80 kilometers, your mind is vacant and you can think of what to do. And then when you come back, your head is bursting with ideas. So it helps to do all of these things because one, it creates more motivation for you to do something, think something, and nobody is disturbing you. You're just with yourself. So I use that for creating more ideas for myself. Second, when I have time for, like a colleague of mine came and said, let's go to Vedha for ice skating last year in the winter. So I said, okay. So when I was doing that, he said, oh, you're pachti professional. So I got pumped up. My ego was like bloating. And I said, okay, this guy was ahead of me. And I said, I'll make a video of him. So I said, Andre, video. And the next thing I was lying down upside down and there were like skates going next to me. So this happens. I mean, at my age, probably people would be scared that, oh, I'll break a bone. Okay, if I'll break a bone, it'll get back sometime, right? I mean, if I don't do it today, tomorrow I may not be able to do it. So I try to live every day like it's my last. If tomorrow did not exist, what would you do today? Just do it.
Невероятно большое количество очень вдохновляющих, мотивирующих ответов, но я все еще не закончил. А как ты встаешь в 5 утра? Ну, то есть, это супер личный вопрос, но я не могу...
Потому что я сплю в 10 часов ночи.
А как ты спишь в 10 часов ночи? У тебя разве не перегружен мозг тем, что было на работе, тем, что ты, не знаю...
7 hours of sleep every day.
Но это в какой-то момент ты просто стал заставлять себя так вставать?
So, I've always got up at 5:30 in the morning. It's always been there. When I started running long distance, try running 10 kilometers on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock now at 32 degrees. You will get up at 5. So it's a matter of convenience. Plus, when you get used to that routine, I'm bad. Like I know there are my colleagues who are at their best optimum efficiency at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, they're working. After 10, I'm useless. So I know I'm useless. So other than weekends on Friday, if there's some cognac party happening somewhere, other than that, I normally try to sleep at 10, wake up at 5. But some days, бывает.
Вау, это, с моей стороны точно заслужит восхищения, потому что я довольно эффективен. Хотя я не знаю, может быть, я эффективен в 2 часы, но с 9 часов вечера до полуночи я могу сделать, наверное, всю недельную работу и потом всю неделю ничего не делать.
That's good, right? In operations, you need people for day shift and you need people for night shift. So having people of both types is helpful.
Точно. Если бы тебе предстояло пройти весь тот путь, который ты прошел, заново, стал ли бы ты что-то менять?
I would live my life exactly the way I've lived. I wouldn't change anything. I have no regrets. But there are certain smaller things which I would change. Like I would listen more. I learned that skill probably 3-4 years back. I mean, I used to listen to something, get an idea of what it is, and then respond. That is something I improved only 4-5 years back. I think I should have done it 30 years ago. I would have been more empathetic, which again is something I learned after I joined Amazon. So these are things I think I had a very low tolerance for mediocrity. I always used to believe that everybody should be superstar and do things fast and stuff like that. I realized that people are configured differently. It took me a few years of my life to learn that. So these are things I don't like it about myself that I was that way till maybe 5-6 years back. I would want to do all that differently because it would have given me much more meaningful interpersonal relations with a lot of people if I'd done it differently earlier. But otherwise, the milestones in life, I would do exactly the same, including joining Avito and sitting here today.
Yay! Прекрасно, Шьям.
Thank you, Antoine. Pleasure.
Yeah. Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you.